What's up, YouTubers and plant lovers? It's Justin, and today I was going to be repotting my Ginkgo Biloba Bonsai forest. Now, as you can tell, I'm pretty covered up by these trees right here. I've started a nice little collection of the Ginkgo Biloba. I have 3 trees right here. I guess it's kind of a 4th one was growing in, but there's 3 trees here, and then I have another one over here off to the side. So I'm going to be transplanting 4 Ginkgo Bilobas into my nice new round, like 22-inch mica pot. This one was in a 12-inch pot, and it outgrew this in just 1 year. It's crazy, and you can see it's starting to grow a little bit of grass and some weeds in it. And that's really kind of stressed the plant out. If you can tell, Ginkgo bilobas, they can grow suckers. Usually there's only 2 reasons why a plant or a tree would grow suckers. One is that it's stressed out, or 2, that its graft failed. And these are not grafted trees, so the plant is definitely stressed out with the heat and the added stress of the plants in the pot with it. So I want to go ahead and repot it and give it a nice new home and a fresh start. Now, if you watched my second to most recent video, I did a Ginkgo Biloba Bonsai kind of pre-bonsai look for it and put it in a new pot as well. But these trees really are great trees to have. They are a piece of history. They are called a living fossil, and that's just because they have been around for so long. Its earliest fossil estimates is around 270 million years ago that the ginkgo trees started to come into existence. And they've pretty much remained unchanged since that time. They definitely were around in the time of the dinosaurs, but the Ginkgo biloba is the only member of the ginkgo family. So if you see the tree, there are different variations, but there is just one member of the ginkgo family. They do have smaller ones and kind of taller ones, and but you really only just kind of see one tree out there, and that is the biloba. And ginkgo, I believe the Japanese word is silver apricot, and biloba is just 2 lobes. So if you look at their really unique, often easily recognized leaves, they do kind of have 2 lobes, and they're fan-shaped. They're really kind of pretty, and they're very unique leaves, and in the fall they'll turn a gorgeous shade of yellow. And that lets everybody know that fall is here. You see the beautiful colors of the leaves, especially the ginkgos. Like I said, the yellow is stunning in the fall. Now, the females aren't typically as popular because in the late fall and early winter, they'll start to produce seeds, and they'll drop and they'll rot, and they kind of smell like rancid butter or just kind of puke. So a lot of people don't really plant those, and reputable dealers won't sell you a female just because of that problem. A lot of people seek out the males because they don't produce the fruit and the seeds, and they don't have any kind of problems. But the tree has been used as a medicinal tree for a long time. The leaves and the seeds can both be used in medicine today and throughout the whole world. And it is a very popular tree, not just because of its aesthetics and its gorgeous color, but because of the medicinal uses of it as well. But you do have to be careful. You can't really go up to the plant and eat it. A lot of people can, but a small percentage of the population can have adverse reactions to it and kind of get sick. But the medicines that they do create help with like high blood pressure, erectile dysfunctions, tinnitus, and Alzheimer's. So it's been a cure-all for a long time, and it's really helped a lot of people, especially in China, but it's used over here in the Western culture as well. Another great reason you'd have one of these trees, not only just because of its historical reasons or whatever, but because these trees are basically hard to kill. They've lived for so long on our planet and have remained unchanged. But they can survive a lot of different things, anything that you throw at them. Where other deciduous trees probably die off in the city because of cramped spaces or pollution or heat or salt in the soil or anything, those deciduous trees would die. The Ginkgo biloba tree will actually thrive. So if you have a small area that's really kind of, I shouldn't say dry and hot, because they can tolerate some heat. They like alkaline soils, they like acidic soils, they like loamy soils, they like sandy, they like well draining, they like a little bit of kind of wet and waterlogged clay soils. They can survive in just about any kind of condition out there. The only kind of condition they do not thrive in is hot and dry climates. So the zone for these guys is, I think, zones USDA 3 through 8. Yeah, after 8, it gets too kind of hot for them, and below 3, it's way too cold. But these trees do thrive in some cold areas as well. So just about anywhere you're at in the world, you could probably get a ginkgo to grow. And if not outside, you can definitely grow one in a container. They do kind of stay on the moderate sides for trees, so they are perfect for bonsai. They really don't get taller than about 25 to 50 feet. And I think they have kind of like a pyramidal kind of shape once they get full grown, and they have a spread of like, I think it's 25 to 35 feet, somewhere in there. So they do really well in kind of crowded areas. But enough about this tree. I did want to go ahead and show you how to repot it. Another interesting fact about them though is they, not too much ails them. They're pretty immune to fungus and pests. So they don't really have a whole lot of problems. If you do have a kind of plant that struggles with pests a lot, the Ginkgo Biloba tree might just be one for you. They do not have any kind of problem with fungus or pest out there. Now, as always, I sanitize my pruning shears with some rubbing alcohol or some hot and soap and water before I begin. Anything that's going to touch your plant or maybe even accidentally nick it, you want to clean and not use anything dirty. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but at the bottom down here, you can see where all this grass was starting to grow, and I cut it back just a little bit. But this stuff is in here really well with the roots of the tree. So you don't want to just go ahead and grab on this and pull, or you'll rip the roots out from the tree and cause the tree some stress too. So I've got my root hook, my pruning shears, my root rake, and then another set of pruning shears, which are double as my wire cutters. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take my root hook and lightly kind of just go over the soil to displace some of it, and kind of wedge it down in here between the pot so that I can kind of loosen up the soil and get the trees out of the way. So all I'm doing is gently just kind of working it through alongside the pot and just kind of being careful. I don't want to rip it up through there. You don't want to destroy all the roots of the trees. And I've just got it going in just like that alongside the edge. And I'm lightly pulling up and just kind of like this as well. Working it down here through the side. Taking my time. And just kind of displacing some soil to get away from the wall of the pot. And as always, if you're going to be transplanting and trying to get a tree out of a pot, make sure you water it at least 24 hours before you begin. It will make removal of the tree a whole lot easier, as if it were just dry and just stuck down in there and dry as a bone. Now you can see I'm lifting it up, and I've got my little bucket underneath the table to collect any of the soil that falls. So I will go ahead and try and work him out here. And actually I'm going to put him up on the table. And I'm going to wrestle him out like that. Set the container on the side of the floor. And yes, look at all the roots right there. It is all tangled up in there, along with the grass seeds, or grass roots as well. And I'm going to go ahead and use my root rake to kind of help me loosen up the root mass. Now, with some of the weeds of the plants, the roots, you can just kind of grab the base of it and pull up. But if you feel a bunch of resistance, work your root hook or root rake down in there to kind of help you separate it some. Now, of course, you'll get to spots where the roots are tangled up. Just use your pruning shears and kind of cut back trimming any of the roots that look like they're over about 1.5 inches, 2 inches with the pruning shears. They all look pretty healthy. I'm just going to cut off the longer parts so that it'll have ample room to grow out in this new container. All I'm doing now is just lightly chipping away at the root mass and the soil with my root hook. Using my fingers to kind of separate them if I need to. If you lightly apply some pressure, the roots will separate some, and then you can pull, but just be careful because you will end up ripping more than you tend to. But just gently kind of work your finger in there and just separate what you can. And the really thick parts on the bottom, you can use the pruning shears to help you. And the kind of thicker parts in the middle, no, it's not planting, it's not gardening unless you do get a little bit of dirty. So the next thing I will do is go ahead and get my container ready for the plants. Now I am using a little bit of my thicker wire to place in these screens down into the drainage holes. That way water can run freely, but the sediment will not. Alright, now they are all secure. As I said earlier, these guys really enjoy all different types of soil. They like nutrient rich, they like really quick draining soil. So to cover the bottom of the container, I'm going to use a really quick porous draining soil. And that's my cacti, succulent, and citrus soil. That way, when water needs to drain, it will be unobstructed and run through freely. And it won't be kind of bogged down with a nutrient-rich, clay kind of loamy soil. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to be putting in decent soil for added heft and nutrients. But for about half the pot, maybe 3/4, I'm just going to use really quick draining soil. And then for the rest, I've got some general all-purpose soil for vegetables and whatnot. So I will add that in now, just to kind of secure the trees in place and hold them up better. Now, of course, you may want to cut up any kind of thick roots at the bottom that may impede your plant from kind of sitting down flat in the container. And so my tallest tree I will place in the back, and then as I add more soil in, he will be a little bit more secure. Alright, now I've got each plant pretty much in there where I want it to be, so I will continue to add soil in there to help hold the trees upright. Finally, the last step, I'm going to take my bonsai soil and add it over top of the soil. It's got a lot of crushed rock and additional sediment in there to make it more aesthetically pleasing and to really kind of help the trees stay secure and in place. And it's also really porous, so it won't hold on to a bunch of water and end up drowning your plants. So as always, when you add new soil in, you want to tamp it down. If not, adding new soil in will trap root bubbles air bubbles around the roots, which will wreak havoc on them and in turn the plants. And at this point, the only thing left to do would be to take some 100% cinnamon and go over any kind of cuts or nicks in the plant. If you accidentally have to cut off one of the suckers, or if you nick the roots or the stem when you are trimming the roots, you can sprinkle on some 100% cinnamon. As we know, that is a natural antibiotic and will keep the pests and viruses and diseases at bay instead of entering your plant through a opening that you created. After doing that, if you don't have to do that, you could actually go ahead and water your plant to further remove any other air bubbles that may be down in there and to kind of perk your tree up also. As I was saying, the Ginkgo Biloba tree really does establish itself quite easily. They are great trees to have. It's like owning a piece of history. These trees have remained unchanged for several million years and can live up to about 3,000 years. So this plant, this bonsai specimen, hopefully will be around a lot longer than I will be. But as for now, it's really aesthetically pleasing. I love looking at the leaves, and in the fall they turn a gorgeous shade of yellow. The seeds and the leaves have been used medicinally for a long time, so to own a tree like this is a great thing indeed. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but they are considered endangered species just because of loss of habitat and kind of the most recent demand that's kind of ripped them up and out of their natural habitat. So if you do own one, make sure you do take care of it and try not to chop it down. Plant prudently, think about where you want to place it, and hopefully this tree will be here for generations to come. While you're at it, make sure you leave a comment and let me know if you've ever kept a Ginkgo Biloba tree, either in your yard or as a bonsai specimen. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button or the bell next to it. That way you'll know anytime I've uploaded a new video. You guys take it easy, have a good one, and don't forget, always plant prudently. Thank you, YouTube. Real quick, I wanted to thank my Patreon subscribers. Pam donated again this month. If you're interested in supporting my channel through Patreon, please check the link in the description box below.